guys, so today I have swatches of the Boardwalk Collection from Virago Varnish. There are 9 neon creams in this collection. These are available right now, so I will link Virago Varnish down below where you guys can check these out, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Summer Highlighter of My Life, and this is a neon greeny yellow. It is that bright highlighter yellow. So here's one coat of Summer Highlighter of My Life. This covers amazingly on the first coat. It's not completely opaque in one coat. There are still some streaks and some patches, so it is going to need a second, but I've never seen a neon yellow that covers this well on the first coat. The formula on this one is thick. It's not so thick that it's difficult to work with, and if it was not this thick, it would not be this opaque on one coat, and you certainly wouldn't be able to get away without a white base, so it's kind of a trade-off, but I do think it's worth it to be able to get a yellow this color, this intense on the first coat. So there is one coat of Summer Highlighter of My Life. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Summer Highlighter of My Life. This one is completely opaque in 2 coats. This is kind of more of a greeny yellow than a yellowy green, if that makes sense. It's got a little bit more green than most fluorescent yellows that I've seen, but I am so impressed with the formula on this. It is unheard of to have a color this light that's yellowish. You know, it's a little bit more on the green side for me, but a color that's this light yellow, opaque in 2 coats with no base. This is just like, my mind is blown right now. This one does dry matte, so you will want a good top coat, but there is 2 coats of Summer Highlighter of My Life. The next polish is called I Can't Kelp Myself, and this is a bright neon highlighter green. So here's one coat of I Can't Kelp Myself. This one looks like it is completely opaque in 1 coat. This does have a thicker formula, and I am doing a little bit thicker of a coat. So a thick coat will cover it in 1 coat. If you do manipulate it a little bit or do thinner coats, you will end up needing 2, but the fact that you can get away with 1, it's just, my mind is blown. I did do a thicker first coat, but it didn't have to be like incredibly thick to cover it completely. If you do thinner coats or if you push a little bit harder, you might end up needing 2, but I really don't think there's any way you're ever going to need more than 2 coats for this one. So that is 1 coat of I Can't Kelp Myself. The next polish is a bright baby blue, and this is called Paradise Pool. So here's 1 coat of Paradise Pool. This one is nearly opaque in 1 coat. I do have some very, very minimal streaking, so I am going to do a second. I think you could get away with 1 thick coat of this one as well. The majority of these are a thicker formula, but that is what helps them be opaque quicker. So there is 1 coat of Paradise Pool. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Paradise Pool. This one covers completely on 2 coats. It does dry matte, so you will want a good top coat. Really beautiful color too. So there is 2 coats of Paradise Pool. The next polish is called Bikini Boardwalk, and this is kind of a lighter but still neon pink. It almost reminds me of a neon version of Creamed Cranberries. So here's 1 coat of Bikini Boardwalk. This one covers pretty well on the first coat. There is still some streaking and some patches, so I'm going to do a second. I think this has the thinnest formula in the collection so far. It's not thin by any means, it's just thinner. So there is 1 coat of Bikini Boardwalk. The lighting is making it a little bit difficult to see the streaks, but I am going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here's 2 coats of Bikini Boardwalk. This one covers completely for me on 2 coats, but I can see where, depending on your application, you might end up needing a third. It looks like it could be really difficult to even out on 2 coats. It might end up streaky. Like I said, that is because this one has a thinner formula, so when you have the thicker formulas, it is kind of a trade-off. You're doing fewer coats, but the formula is thicker. So there is 2 coats of Bikini Boardwalk. The next polish is called Seashore Shenanigans, and this is kind of a medium blue cream. I feel like it has a splash of green in it. So here's 1 coat of Seashore Shenanigans. This one covers almost completely in 1 coat. I just have a few streaks that I can see, so I'm going to do a second. The formula on this one is good. It's thick, but it's not as thick as some of the other ones. Easy to apply though. You'll have to excuse the bumps on some of my nails. My nails are starting to protest the swatches, so I'm going to have to buff them after this color. But that is 1 coat of Seashore Shenanigans. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Seashore Shenanigans. This one covers completely in 2 coats. Again, not the thinnest of the formulas in the collection, but it's one of the thinner ones. So there is 2 coats of Seashore Shenanigans. The next polish is called Booze Cruise, and this is a purple cream. This is more of a warmer purple than it is showing up on camera. So here's 1 coat of Booze Cruise. This one almost covers completely on 2 coats. It's not so much that there are streaks, there are just some spots you can see are lighter than others where the polish isn't covering evenly, but it's so hard to tell. I think if you really wanted to, you could probably get away with 1. The formula on this one is good. Again, it's a little bit thinner than some of the earlier polishes in this collection, so it's a little bit easier to work with. I don't know if you can see on my pinky, but there's a little chunk of pigment there. I did have that with a couple of the polishes. I couldn't really remember which ones they were for my picture swatches. I'm thinking the other one is one that I haven't done yet, but it is something to be aware of. They're few and far between, but I have noticed those little chunks in a couple of the polishes. So there is 1 coat of Booze Cruise. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here's 2 coats of Booze Cruise. This one covers completely in 2 coats. It does dry matte, and after it dried you could really see the streaks better. They stood out a lot more after it was dry. Again, I've got a few of those little pigment chunks coming out of this one. You can see them a little bit. So there is 2 coats of Booze Cruise. The next polish is called Wait Until the Sun Sets, and this is a teal cream. So here's 1 coat of Wait Until the Sun Sets. This is another one that's almost opaque in 1 coat, just has a tiny bit of unevenness that I want to level out, so I'm going to do a second. This has a really easy formula as well. It's not as thick as the first few, but I do want to say that the first few, I think the first couple, the yellow and the green, really had to be that thick in order to be as opaque as they were. As the colors get darker, the need for that thickness kind of diminishes. So there is 1 coat of Wait Until the Sun Sets. I'm going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So here is 2 coats of Wait Until the Sun Sets. This one covers completely on 2 coats. I do feel like the color on the camera is showing up a little bit more blue than it is in person. Again, great formula, really easy to apply. So there is 2 coats of Wait Until the Sun Sets. The next polish is a true neon pink, and this is called Tsunami Mommy. So here's 1 coat of Tsunami Mommy. This one covers really well on the first coat. I think this one could be a 1-coater if you did a thick enough coat. I know it's hard to see on camera because it is so bright, but I do still have some minimal streaking, so I am going to do a second coat. Great formula. It covers really well, but it's not one of the thicker formulas. It's about the same as the last few that I've done. So there is 1 coat of Tsunami Mommy. It just barely needs another, so I am going to let that dry and come back for a second coat. So there is 2 coats of Tsunami Mommy. So this one covers completely on 2 coats, though it was nearly opaque on 1. Again, great formula, really easy to apply and to control. So there is 2 coats of Tsunami Mommy. And the last polish is called Lifeguard Lagoon, and this is a deeper blue cream. So here's 1 coat of Lifeguard Lagoon. And this one is completely opaque in 1 coat. I have no streaking, no uneven spots, just full coverage. This has a great smooth formula as well, really easy to apply. If you do really thin coats, you might end up needing 2, but I'm doing pretty normal coats right now and it's covering completely. So there is 1 coat of Lifeguard Lagoon. So my favorite in this collection by far is Summer Highlighter of My Life. I have never seen a neon highlighter yellow that is opaque in 2 coats, that doesn't need a white base, that's just as bright as ones that do need a white base. Granted, this one leans a little bit more on the green side than say like Orly's Glow Stick, but it's still very, very close to that like highlighter neon yellow, and the formula in this is just amazing. So that is the Virago Varnish Boardwalk Collection. I will link Virago Varnish down below where you guys can check these out. They are available right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later.